Good morning or good afternoon, depending on what Algebra 1 class this is. I'm going to go over 5 problems off your homework last night in this video. You can check the odds on the back of the book, so obviously I'm doing the evens. Then I'm going to give you guys 3 examples to try on your own and then check with your DFF. And then after that will be part 2 video to talk about word problems. Okay. Cool thing about systems of equations is that it's one of the most applicable topics to real life situations. Okay. So last night, you guys had some work on page 439, okay? And I'm going to do some of the evens off of that. So let's take a look first at number 4. Okay. Now, if you completely understand this homework, then great. Just check your work, follow along, help those people around you that aren't quite sure what to do yet. And then you also can be checking your answers in the back of the book for the odds during this time. All right, so remember that when we're solving by substitution, we're looking for a variable to be isolated. And if it's not isolated, we're looking for a coefficient of 1 or -1. Well, if we look at the very first problem, we have a variable isolated. So we have 4, we have y equals 2x minus 1, and we're going to substitute it into here. So we have 2x plus, in parentheses, 2x minus 1 equals 3. So 4x minus 1 equals 3, 4x equals 4, x equals 1. Remember that the whole point of substitution is to eliminate a variable so that you can solve a variable in one equation. Okay. We're not done, of course. We need to take that 1 and plug it back into one of the original equations. Doesn't matter which one we choose, but since we're solving for y, and y is already isolated, let's go ahead and do that one. So we get y to equal 1. Okay. Now, hopefully, when I ask the question, why are you not done? You will all answer in unison because you need to write it as an ordered pair. So 1, 1. Okay. And then, of course, remember that you guys should be checking your work. The way that I like to check is use the equation that I didn't just use to find the missing variable. But if you're not sure, then just check both. Okay. So 1, 1 is the answer. All right, let's take a look at 6. So 4x minus 7y equals 10, and y equals x minus 7. Once again, looking for a variable to be isolated, we do. So let's go ahead and start substituting. So y is isolated, y equals x minus 7, and I'm going to replace it into the other y. Remember that when you're using substitution, please use parentheses. So 4x minus 7 in parentheses, x minus 7 equals 10. Okay. Notice that I replaced what this y equaled with x minus 7. If you don't use parentheses, you are going to make mistakes. And we should get x to equal 13. All right, when we're done with that, remember, we plug it back into one of the original equations. I'm going to use the second one due to the fact that y is already isolated. And I get y to equal 6. So my answer is 13, 6. Make sure that you're including parentheses around your ordered pairs. Otherwise, I will take a point off for it. Okay. So let's plug it back into the equation we didn't just use. So 4 times 13 minus 7 times 6 has to equal 10. 52 minus 42 does indeed equal 10. So 13, 6 is our answer. All right, 8 is very similar, so I'm not going to go through number 8, but if you want to know the answer, it is going to be 3, 22. All right, let's take a look at number 10. Okay. So 2x minus y equals 23, and x minus 9 equals -1. Hopefully you'll notice that there's something really unique about this problem, that in the second equation, there's only one variable in it. So why not solve for x and then just substitute it into the first equation? So x equals 8. Just add a 9 to both sides. take the 8, substitute it back in. And please make sure that you carry down your negative in front of your variable. That's a common mistake that we like to make. Sorry about that. So we get y to equal -7. Of course, check your work. 8, -7 is your answer. All right, I'm going to pull up a new document for number 28. I'm assuming a lot of us have questions on this one, so we're going to go ahead and go through it. So remember, with substitution, you always want to look for a variable that's isolated. If there isn't one, you want to look for a coefficient of 1 or -1. Well, unfortunately, we don't have either one of those cases, so we have to solve for a variable first. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and do this one, the bottom one, because 1/2 is a nice fraction to work with. So I'm going to isolate y, so 1/2 y equals -2/3 x plus 13. Okay, remember that when you are isolating a variable and you're moving terms to the opposite sign, you do the opposite operation. Okay. And then I multiply the entire equation by 2, so y equals -4/3 x plus 26. The reason why I multiply by 2 is because I got to get y by itself. In order to get y by itself, you have to divide by 1/2, or in other words, just multiply by the reciprocal, which is 2. Okay. Now we're going to take this equation and substitute it back up onto the top. So here we have what y equals. So we have 3/8 x plus 3/4, and then replace the y directly. Equals 12. Okay. Notice that whatever this y equal, I replaced it with what the second y equaled. Okay. And don't forget about the 3/4 in front and make sure that you're using parentheses. So we get 3/8 x minus x, because 3 times -4 is -12, 4 times 3 is 12, -5 by 12, -12 is 1. Or -1 in this case, sorry. All right, so then we have to do 3/4 times 26. Okay. Remember that you multiply straight across, so you get 78 over 4. Okay. But 78 over 4 can be reduced to 39 over 2. All right, so now we need to combine like terms. 3/8 x minus x is going to be a -5/8 x. Because 3/8 minus 1 is a -5/8. Then I need to subtract the 39 over 2 from both sides. And you should get a -15/2. Okay. Now how do you multiply fractions? Or divide fractions, I say. You multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply both sides by -8/5. So you get x to equal, negative times negative is a positive. These cancel out to 4, those cancel out to 3, so you get 12. Okay. Take a moment to go through the steps, see if you guys have any questions, and ask your DFF before we finish off this problem. Sorry about that. One of my dogs decided to bark outside. So, all right, we found x equal 12. Now we need to plug it back into one of the original equations. Doesn't matter which one, but the second one looks nicer because we're plugging in 12 for x. 3 is a multiple, or is a factor of 12, so this is going to cancel out nicely. So 2/3 times 12 plus 1/2 y equals 13. You get 8 plus 1/2 y equals 13. Subtract the 8, multiply by the reciprocal, and you get y to equal 10. So your ordered pair is 12 10. That's about as complicated as the substitution problems are going to get. So if you do okay on this problem, you should do fine. All right, I'm going to give you guys 3 examples that I want you to try with your DFF right now. All right, I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to work on these problems, or 4 minutes I should say, and then I will throw the answers up on here. You can either work with your DFF on each one, or you can try them each separately and then compare answers. And sorry, make sure you guys realize that this is a negative 22 on number 2. Okay, so make sure you copy down that negative on the negative 22. All right, so here are the answers. For number 1, you should have gotten 7, negative 4. Number 2, you should have gotten 6, 5. And number 3, you should have gotten negative 5, 3. Okay? It's okay if you didn't finish. There'll be some time in between now and the next video for you guys to talk with your DFFs, go over any problems that you guys have, or take these problems home tonight and make sure that you get the answers now that you have them. Okay? So this concludes part 1 of today's lesson.